Right, a lot has happened in the last few hours today. Breaking news coming in that the state attorney has confirmed to civil society organization OUTA that government is revoking the national state of disaster to deal with electricity effective from today. This after OUTA took government to court to challenge the decision, which was announced by President Cyril Ramaphosa during his State of the Nation address back in February. In other breaking news from earlier as well, National Treasury has announced that it's withdrawing its government gazette to exempt Eskom from the Public Finance Management Act for now. A few days ago, Treasury had gazetted that the ailing power utility would not have to report fruitless and wasteful expenditure for 3 financial years. It said this was to ensure Eskom could still have borrowing power, but the Finance Minister and his team continued to try and justify their initial decision to MPs.
We've decided to withdraw the Gazette for now and take all these comments into account and also have a detailed consultation with the Auditor General and the auditors of Deloitte and Lodge, the auditors of Eskom, so that the framing must be proper. Checks and balances for corruption are tightened. That's really the intention, but we'll welcome the comments by the honorable members. Should the committee want a detailed presentation, the technical team is here to deal even with the technical aspect which relates to the accounting principles.
Right, let's bring in our reporters on the ground now who are following stories making headlines. Pule Letshwiti-Jones is in Johannesburg and Lethiwe Mdluli is in Durban. They've been tracking various stories for us. Pule, let me start with you in terms of the shutdown that you're seeing at the Masego Rahlaga Health University. Exactly why are students marching there?
Yeah, definitely. Students are still quite upset with the issue of NSFAS monies that are meant for them not having been processed up to date so far, and they're accusing the institution of not taking this matter quite seriously. If I step out of shot, you can just have a look at some of the things that are taking place here, with the students having blocked the Masego Rahlaga Health Science University entrance at this particular moment. But of course, we also do understand that there was a letter issued out from NSFAS by an official called Andile Nongogo to, of course, Professor Mbadi from the Masego Rahlaga Health Science, in which she says that they had resolved most of the outstanding 2022 matters with universities, and a payment in this regard is being made, which was yesterday. It also said NSFAS had received registration data from universities and would be making payments against this data by the 7th of April, but to date nothing has been processed. And as you can see here, students are still quite upset with what's currently happening. But let's just take a listen to what the spokesperson of the institution had to say regarding this issue.
I think the problem is generally systematic. The problem that we have now is that a lot of NSFAS students have been waiting for their funding since January. And the university has been engaging with NSFAS, the principal has been doing that, engaging with all of them since January, just to make sure that these problems are resolved. But up to now, those problems have not been resolved. And hence we find ourselves in the situation that we have here. So what the university has done, being sympathetic to the cause of the students and their well-being, has decided to actually make use of its own resources to address the problems that the students are facing. And I must also emphasize, we do this as a university not because we have a lot of resources. We don't, but because we really understand the plight of the students, and we're saying we cannot allow the students to go hungry or not having book or the basic necessities when we're in a position to assist. So that's really the long and short of what is going on.
Right, Lethiwe, let me come to you. But before I do that, let's introduce Manqoba Mchunu as well, who's going to give us an update on his story. But let me start in Mdluli municipality. Lethiwe, you were talking, or rather you were at a press briefing about the closure there. What did officials say exactly? What's happening in Mdluli?
Well, Masego, last week we came here when residents and the local business forum shut down the offices for a week, saying that the municipality has failed to provide service delivery, and they were also fighting over a tender that was recently awarded. The local business forum was saying that the tender, which is worth 48 million, we do understand that from the mayor who briefed us this morning, she said the tender was worth millions. They wanted to be included in that tender. They wanted it to be awarded to locals. They were saying that they needed answers as to why the tender was not awarded to them. And also the residents were here also as well, working with the business forum, saying that a lot of service delivery issues have been facing them. Their main concern had to do with electricity, the roads, and also water. When we came here last week, there was piles of sand that was stacked outside the main gate, and the people had forced all the workers from inside the municipality outside, and there were no services being provided. Today when we came here, the municipality gave a media briefing where they were just basically saying that there is no crisis here in Mdluli and they have everything under control. The mayor gave a briefing as to what is going to happen in terms of the service delivery. She is saying that in terms of electricity, they are working together with ESCOM, and there is a project that is going to be providing electricity to majority of the residents that were here complaining last week. And we do understand that they'll be working also together with the local businesses in this town in Scottsburg, and they will be engaging them as to how they can be included in the awarding of tenders moving forward. But she is saying that what took place last week, where the offices were closed for 7 days, was illegal, and they're going to be investigating this issue. But while she was briefing us a bit earlier on, this is what she had to say.
I cannot sit here and say the protest was politically motivated, because people who are affected or community members who are affected, we have engaged them, and there is nothing political that came forward in those engagements. It was just grievances that we have addressed, as I am saying. On issues of service delivery, I do not want to sound like I am being defensive, but we have been constantly communicating with the communities on the service delivery programs that we are undergoing as the municipality. And that also covers the issue of potholes and other services that we provide in the municipality. But criticism is always welcome, because it also assists us to do better in the future. But we cannot say the municipality is in a dire state. There is a crisis. There is no crisis in Mdluli.
All right, Manqoba, I believe you went back to Westbury just to get an update after crime that has been happening in that area, particularly some of the shootings and deaths that have occurred. Any update on police and the amaperete that was promised to the community?
Well, Masego, I can tell you that the community members will tell you that even though there are deployments in those areas, they're not seeing much of a difference as far as crime is concerned. In fact, they're telling us, Masego, that they have seen some of the police on the ground, but not quite often as they like to see them on the ground. And of course, you know that the community members, they have been feeling quite unsafe following the developments that have happened there, the shootings that have happened in that area over the past few weeks. And so they were expecting to see those police on the ground, the boots on the ground that will be, in that area, that will be looking and conducting raids and searches in that community. But they tell you that, they hardly see police in that community. And we know, of course, that since the deployment, there's been 2 shootings that have occurred in that area. One of the people that was shot died, a 19-year-old boy, and the other survived that particular shooting. But just speaking to community members, Masego, saying that they are losing faith that the police will be able to curtail the situation and to bring an end to the violence as well as the gang-related issues in that community. Of course, we also heard the similar sentiments from the residents of El Dorado Park over the weekend who also took to the streets. They marched to some of the drug dens in the area where they targeted those drug dens, saying that really they're losing faith that police will curtail this, because the police are never there on the ground, and they come when there's big incidents, but weeks after that they're not seen on the ground. And this is the reason why they're saying that, Masego, they don't believe that police will win this war against drugs and gang violence in their areas. We also went to a community of Krugersdorp this morning that you recall, Masego, there was an incident, a gang rape incident that occurred last year in August, where 8 women were raped during a shoot that had been happening at one of the unused mines there in the area. And of course, while speaking to residents there, also similar sentiments that police are not helping enough as far as the issues of safety are concerned in that community. They're saying that they've now opted to take matters into their own hands to address these issues and to speak to some of these, bosses of illegal miners to try and curtail this particular violence. So it doesn't seem like many of these communities are, Masego, convinced that police are doing enough to try and deal with their issues.
All right, that was your eNCA lunchtime update from all angles with reporters Lethiwe Mdluli, Pule Letshwiti-Jones and Manqoba Mchunu.